I think there's no doubt that Labour Party is going to wipe the board. And they will come back and they will behave, to begin with in any case, rather like Tony Blair's party. It will not be a party with carrying out extreme solutions to what are, in the case of the UK, extreme problems: inequality, health, education. I think they will act more on the margin than by taking any radical steps. But because they are most likely to be in power for two terms, not just one term, because the Conservatives are heading into the wilderness and have to reform themselves, which will take a long time, I imagine that what we're going to see is that the policies will get more extreme, more redistributive as we go forward. But in the beginning, as we're all in the business of saying, what does this mean for markets? I think the markets will treat this as being exactly the most unsurprising surprise that we could have imagined. It's fulfilling everything, and I don't think the market's going to particularly worry about it. In fact, I expect it to go up.
Yeah, because the markets typically just latch onto political stability, right? Irrespective of who's in power, as long as there's a stable government, that is reassuring enough for investors. But I do want to get your sense in terms of, where the United Kingdom is as an economy with dealing with high inflation, the cost of living crisis. Keir Starmer's manifesto has said that economic growth and social justice must go hand in hand, and that's something that the Labour Party has always stood for in the past. But I wonder how he can drive economic growth at a time when there are other issues, more pressing issues that he needs to deal with, i.e. the cost of living, i.e. Inflation.
Look, I think this must be seen as a political event occurring in a long-term declining trajectory of the UK economy. I don't think that Mr. Starmer has the tools or the vision to actually turn the UK economy around, which would take a profound change in the ratio of capital investment that happens, in productivity, in its participation in Europe, and all those things which have done so much long-term damage to the UK economy. I do not see anything in Mr. Starmer's soundbites which are anything but rather furry at the edges. So I don't think that is going to happen. The long-term decline of the UK economy will continue.
So then in your mind, David, how much of this was about punishing perhaps the Conservatives rather than something that the Labour government actually has to offer? And then if you're saying that they've got a mammoth task in front of them, once they get down to brass tacks, if that is what we end up seeing in the outcome, what is the first business of order?
Well, Sam, I think what we're going to see is this. I am sure that they will spend a little bit more money. It'll probably be less than 1% of GDP. And I'm sure they will raise a little bit more taxes from the rich, who will duly avoid those taxes. But I don't see anything revolutionary coming along that is going to change what is essentially the most important thing in the UK economy that needs to change, is the amount of money which is invested in productive assets in the UK economy going forward. I simply don't see anything in his toolbox which would allow him to do that. Now, why that does not threaten his grip on power is, as you say, because this election is not about loving Labour, it's about hating Conservatives. Actually, the UK public really isn't enthusiastic or about politicians in general. But the reason he can go forward on this kind of softly approach, which is because the Conservatives are going to have to go off into the wilderness and decide, well, what are they actually going to do with Nigel Farage? What are they going to do with their own extreme right wing? Are they going to redefine themselves as the Conservatives traditionally were defined, as the kind of centre reasonable ground of civic politics and civic society in the UK? Or are they going to start roping in the extremes and become an even more extreme right-wing party, which will then, of course, spend an even longer time in the wilderness? Because actually, I doubt very much that the UK electorate will opt for that either.